streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to speak.
Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and today's episode is called The Mind, Body, and Heart Connection. What if the biggest threat to your health isn't just what you eat, but how you live? Talking about stress, diabetes, heart disease. They're affecting millions of people every single day, yet many of us don't recognize the signs until it's too late. Well, on this episode of Born to Speak to You TV, we're joined by an executive health coach, a wellness strategist who has spent more than 30 years helping people understand the powerful connection between the mind, body, and heart. As someone who has participated in more than 2,000 open heart surgeries, has personally lived with type 1 diabetes for nearly 3 decades, our guest brings both professional expertise and lived experience to this conversation. You're going to walk away with practical strategies that may help you reduce your stress, improve your health, and live with greater purpose. So stay with us, because your best life starts from the inside out. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, where we're speaking life into the moments that matter. This isn't just a show. It's a movement. It's a space where stories are honored, voices are lifted, and truth has a mic. Each episode, we dive into powerful conversations on identity, on equity, growth, healing, leadership, and the courage that it takes to speak up in a world that often wants us to keep quiet. Whether it's through personal testimony, community impact, or artistic expression, Born to Speak to You is where voices rise and change begin. Our mission is simple: to empower people to use their voice, own their truth, and build bridges of communication and understanding. So, sit back or lean in, because you're about to witness what happens when passion meets purpose. This is Born to Speak to You TV. Let's speak life. Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV, where we speak life into the moments that matter. Today's guest, Mark Brezzell, has dedicated his life to helping people not just live longer, but live healthier and better lives. As mentioned earlier, he's an executive health coach, keynote speaker, wellness strategist, and the founder and CEO of MDB LiveConnext. With more than 30 years of experience in medicine and medical affairs, he has participated in over 2,000 open heart surgeries, served in executive healthcare leadership, and now he helps individuals and organizations improve health, resilience, and sustainable performance. And what makes Mark's story to me even more powerful is that his passion isn't just powerful, it's personal. Having lived with type 1 diabetes for nearly 30 years, he understands firsthand the challenges of managing health while pursuing excellence. Please welcome to the show, Mark Brezzell. Hey, Mark.
How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Welcome to Born to Speak to You TV.
Thank you. Glad to be here. It's an honor.
And it's an honor to have you here. We're going to have a conversation and get some good information out to the audiences. And I like to always say, let's jump into the deep end because that's where the party's at. You
There
ready
you
to
go.
you ready to get wet?
Hey, I'm ready. Let's
All
do it.
right. All right, here we go. Our first segment is the heart behind the mission. Now, as mentioned, you spent years in operating rooms during open heart surgeries.
Mhm.
What changed you the most about that experience?
I think the interesting thing about this is that it got to a point where I'm thinking to myself, this is intervention. We are actually intervening and extending lives.
Mm.
But I think that stands out the most to me is the fact that majority of these people that are here not because of pathology, but because of lifestyle. And when you think about that, I know that there's always exceptions, there's always other variables and factors, but the main reason that many people are there is because of of the lifestyles that they were conducting. And to me, that really stood out. It wasn't something that I dealt with then, but when you step back and kind of look at the whole peripheral, that's something I'm like, wow, that's really very, very interesting to me.
Got you. Well, was there a single patient or a single moment that made you realize that prevention was your calling?
I think it was not so much a sing. Well, let me digress. I do think of patients that are getting younger, and I think that to me was something that really stood out to me. I mean, when I first started back in the early '90s, it was very rare to see a patient in the 50s. That was kind of a aha moment. Oh wow! But as the years progressed, I did surgery for 10 years. And, in my 10th year, before I transitioned into industry, I began to notice that the population have gotten much younger. That we even had a patient, I think the youngest patient I can recall was either 29 or 30. And, to me, that's incredible for coronary artery disease. But yet, because of our diet, because of lifestyle, we're seeing that paradigm shift. And so that's when I got into industry in my last company, and I'll get a little bit more into that, is when it really opened my eyes, where I felt it was time for me to, step out. I have experience in industry. I have experience in surgery, and now I'm also have lived experience as a diabetic, type 1 diabetic. So that's when they all kind of aligned, and I felt the call to action to try to do what I can to kind of mitigate and meet this. I call it a crisis, because we're sick in this country, and there's things we can do about that.
Was there a single patient or moment that made you realize that prevention was your calling?
I think for me, it wasn't a single patient. It was more of a trend. I noticed that the patients started getting younger. When I first started in practice, we're talking, it was rare to see a 50-year-old. I mean, when I would see that, I'm like, wow, this guy's young, but when it started trickling into the 40s and into the 30s. And I think we had one patient, he was either 29 or 30, but it was the youngest patient I've ever seen in my own personal experience that presented with coronary artery disease. And that was, that was kind of a wake-up call for me even then. But it wasn't until I was in industry years later, and dealing, on the industry, industry side, we're developing either therapeutics and developing medical devices that I had a chance to kind of look back, and I'm like, wow, this is this is an indictment in our lifestyle here in this country. And I said, I have experience. I've been on both sides of the fence in the OR. I've been in industry, and I'm a patient. And I said, now it's time for me to do something about it.
All right. So, would you say that wellness begins long before someone enters the hospital?
Oh, absolutely. Wellness starts at home. Basically, it's the foundation. It's the foundation of who you are. And I think one of the things that I try to help emphasize with people is that, this is one of the things we take for granted. Health is not an issue until it's not an issue, or until it becomes an issue. And I think that many times we blow off repercussions and ramifications until we start seeing symptoms, and then now all of a sudden there's this gross change in attitude. But by then, I'm not saying it's too late, but by then you're now dealing with this thing, and you could have really mitigated this thing years earlier if you just paid attention.
Got you. So what's one myth that you wish people would stop believing?
I would say the biggest myth is that you pushing is progress. That pushing it equates strength. That pushing beyond your circumstance, beyond your symptoms, beyond how you feel, that makes you stronger. What it's doing is actually making you weaker, because as symptoms start to manifest themselves, many times we are ignoring them, where we start to normalize the abnormal, and that's the biggest issue that it becomes a problem. So when we start to normalize abnormal, and we don't really, eventually our body gets to a point where I can't take it anymore, and then we're forced to sit down and to address some of these challenges.
Okay, so Mark, what's one thing that you would suggest to the audience members that they can do this week to improve their health? Just one thing.
The one thing is take a walk.
Okay.
Walking is one of the most effective means of physical exercise, because if you walk outside, you're hitting so many of the key critical areas that are necessary for health and revitalization.
Absolutely. It really is. I remember when I finished college and moved back to New York, I was fortunate to move onto the same block, a few houses down from where I was, raised.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a job in Wall Street, and I lived not far from downtown Brooklyn. So I would, walk in the morning 3 miles to work, cross the Brooklyn Bridge into the Wall Street area, and 3 miles coming home. So that's 6 miles a day. Now, mind you, sometimes I would leave real early and stop at Jack LaLanne
That's right.
down in Wall Street, get a quick workout before going to work. Man, I was in the best health of my life. I couldn't even gain any weight. And it really, what you said about it's easy to do. It's real easy to do. You don't have to do 3 miles, but you need to start today, right?
That's right. And you can even do it indoors. It's not something that requires any type of a membership.
That's right. You can do it for free.
That's right.
Free.com. I love it. Well, Mark, let's take a little break right here. When we come back, we'll go into the next segment. This is Born to Speak to You TV.
All right.
And we're back. This is Born to Speak to You TV with my guest today. We're talking with Mark Brezzell, and we're talking about the mind, body, and heart connection. This next section, Mark, I have been observing this as a speaker myself, as I consult people, hear their stories about why they can't be productive, why they can't get things done. It's usually work related, family related, something that I believe that people could put into check, but it's stress, the silent health thief, the thief that comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
That's right.
Yes, and you don't even know about it. So, tell us briefly, if you can, how does stress affect the heart, the brain, and the body?
The thing about stress was we focus on the obvious, the heart, the brain, and the body. But what people don't understand is that the stress impacts the connectivity of the heart, the brain, and the body, meaning the
Mm,
vascular system. Many times people don't understand, but chronic stress over time, we know that it creates such a cascade of challenges. It puts the body in this fight flight syndrome state, and which releases various chemicals, biochemicals that set your body up for an evasive maneuvers, either running or fighting. But the fact of the matter is, you are not doing that, and your body started to release all of these different chemicals into your system, and over time that starts to contribute to inflammation, which again starts to have impact on your blood vessels, and that's where a lot of these challenges come. Heart attacks are nothing more than just blockages, in the blood vessels. Same with a stroke, blockages in the blood vessels, and there's other multiple types of stroke, but the major one, all of it is the same etiology. And so it's just so important to kind of mitigate that, because over time you don't really see your blood vessels, you don't see what's going on inside your body. This is something that only will manifest itself with eventual symptoms. But as far as the etiology of building up of plaque and building up of injuries and lesions that are forming within your vessels, that's not something that you see, that you are aware of. That's why it's so
right,
silent.
right. And that easily makes stress one of the biggest health threats that's out there,
That's
because
right.
because it's silent. I mean, you don't even know that it's happening to you.
And as
So,
detrimental as it is, it
mhm,
doesn't appear on your death certificate. Yeah,
right, right,
it's,
right. That's a good point, because I've never heard of someone, saying what he died of. He died of stress.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Stress,
Good
stress
point.
is kind of like, the accelerant.
Got you. Got you. Got you. Well, as I was saying, a lot of people are always telling me about how busy they are, and it's they say it like it's a badge of honor.
Yes,
I'm so busy doing
that's right.
my job that, the
That's
kids, the
right.
family, and I understand some things have to be done,
That's
but
right.
when you're so busy that it's causing you stress, and but you still wear it like it's
That's right.
a gold ribbon, it's a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
is that something that people should stop wearing?
If you could disrobe that today, that would be that would be a benefit for you. The challenge of all this is that we beat ourselves up thinking that we're doing ourselves good. But I always tell people all the time, when you're talking wellness and health, health is the foundation of everything that you do, everything. So when you're talking about your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, your desires, think of all the things you want to do. If your health is not aligned, all of that stuff will go up in smoke. And so that's been a lot of times we take the most we take the most critical element of our existence and we blow on it as it's like it's not a big deal.
Yep, yep. Years ago, I read a book by Lee Iacocca. I believe he was one of the Ford Corporation's chairpersons. And in that book, the thing that resonated with me most is that he said no employee should have to work more than 40 hours per week.
Mm-hmm.
Take that time after 40 hours, be with your family, work out, de stress, but you should not have to work 45, 60 hours a week.
That's right.
And that causes what? Stress.
Stress, among
Yes,
other things. And like I said, that's just the floodgate of a lot of the other issues that you're going to be presenting down the road. Yep.
Exactly. So let's make this a little lighter for a second. What's the funniest excuse that you've ever heard for someone not taking care of themselves?
I,
No
I don't have
names.
time. I got to make a living. I got to, this it's a rough world out there. I don't have time to, I got to hit the pavement. I- this is a life, and this is a scenario where I have to spend my time building my fortune. I have to spend my time building my career. I have to focus. I will get left behind if I don't continue to push.
What is a technique that relieves stress that maybe somebody can do every day besides walking? Is there anything that is a stress killer?
I think that well, actually, it's multifactorial. The walking thing is probably the most efficient way because it's not just exercise. If you walk outside, it's a homogeneous, or as I say, a heterogeneous impact. You got fresh. You need sunshine, which gives you energy. Then you have fresh air, which oxygenates your system, your cells, and all that gives you energy. All these things are kind of drinking, staying hydrated. Your body needs fluid with 70% water, and when we
Right.
don't drink enough, you'd be amazed at how that impacts you. A lot of times we replace just basic water with either caffeinated drinks or carbonated drinks, but we're water. That's what we need. So all these things actually will help to our bodies to be more resistant and resilient to stressors that impact our weight, and even diet. There's foods that we can eat that actually will help to boost our systems to a point where now we're a little bit more resistant to some of the stressors that we're going to be exposed
Mhm.
to.
Yep. And another thing is people can look healthy, right? And they're actually unhealthy.
That's right. That's right. And then you have people that look unhealthy, and if you look at them, it's, in the operating room, they're even more unhealthy because your appearance is just a microcosm of how your body is impacted by your lifestyle. And most people, if they look older in the face, they look even older
Mm,
anatomically.
got you. Got you. Got you. Well, Mark, we're going to take a little break. We're going to put a pin in it right here. And when we come back, we'll finish this discussion, or I should say, continue this discussion right here on Born to Speak to You TV.
All right.
And we're back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. We're talking today about mind, body, and heart connections with my guest, Mark Brezzell. Mark, let's move into the next segment, which is mindset, habits, and healthy living. We've spent some time talking about that nasty, nasty thief, stress. Let's talk about some things that people can do as far as mindset, habits, and healthy living. So let's begin with mindset. Why is mindset just as important as medicine?
Because your mindset dictates your behavioral pattern.
Mm,
The fact of the matter is, there's many people The things that you need to do, you don't want to do, or you don't feel necessary, you should do. And that's where mindset comes in. You're not going to be motivated if you don't feel it as a priority.
Okay. And why do healthy routines outperform quick fixes?
Because the body is a total system. The quick fixes, it's fleeting. Even for example, even diet. Many times these quick diets, these I call them television diets, or back in the day, everything is quick. That's not the most efficient for you. It's not the most effective for you. Most of these foods are highly processed, and that in and of itself is a big instigator of inflammation, and which again propagates all these other things that we were talking about. But eat whole foods. Take your time. You'll slow things down. Just make sure you get rest. Make sure you get you take time out of your busy schedule so your body has time to recuperate. Because if you don't allow your body to catch up and to recuperate, then you're just opening up the door for long-term problems down the road.
All right, thank you. And I'm glad that you mentioned that process about trying to lose weight. Even I remember watching like the NBA previews and seeing a particular former superstar. He was kind of chunky when the season started, and by the time the season ended, dude was small. He was looking good, and he openly said, he used those GLP injections, and I was like, wow, but long term, wouldn't it have been better to just like push away from the table?
There you go. That's right. Well, that's the society we live in. Is they equate health and wellness with a pill, and this, it's more of a longevity type of thing. You can't just pop a pill and think that that's going to keep you healthy.
Okay. Now, from the stage, one of my keynotes, the entire package is about discipline. Mm-hmm. Discipline is the bridge. Tell us, what's the relationship between discipline and wellness?
I think the relationship is very tight, because I think that for you to do all of the principles necessary for proper wellness, you have to have the mindset of doing it. A lot of people say, well, it's not a big deal. Well, if it's not a big deal, there's not going to be a priority. If it's not a priority, then your mindset is going to be take time off, take days off. I'm not even going to bother. I'm going to skip. It's not a priority for me. And I think that that's important. I think the biggest challenge that I see when I'm talking wellness is that we take better care of our cars than we do our own health. And it's interesting, because when people equate the differences, I try to help them understand. You go pay a lot of money for a high-end automobile. You're careful of the fuel you put in there. You're careful of the maintenance schedule you put, that you follow. You go the extra to make sure that this investment that you've made, that you get a good return in this thing, and you string that thing out. But yet, when it comes to us,
yeah, it's a different story.
It's a different
story. From the stage also, and this is part of the discipline keynote. The subtitle of it, if you will, is Mindset, Grind, Success. You might have seen it in the last commercial. So we talked about the mindset. You start thinking about what you have to do, what you need to do, and the resources you need to get it done. Right. Then comes the grind. That's the actual doing it. That's the eating healthy, right? That's the going to the gym when you don't feel like doing it. That's taking a walk when you don't want to, doing some workouts at home even, to get to the success, which is a better health.
That's right.
And
absolutely. Yeah.
It's really
a simple formula, but it's very, very, very fleeting and sometimes difficult when we don't have the proper mindset in alignment with that.
Mm-hmm. And you can even make it a family project, right? Yeah. Tell us how families can encourage healthier lifestyles together?
Well, you think about, the times that you enjoy a picnic. You're out there, you're all together, everybody's enjoying themselves. You're playing games. You're out there in nature. I mean, these are things. And you can even do this in your own backyard. Go out and enjoy each other's company. It's nothing wrong with having a barbecue, but after your barbecue, go out and do something physical. Play a game, play volleyball, play basketball, play play baseball. Just go for a walk. Even it doesn't even have to be a game. It could just, like I said, just doing something together. All you guys go for a walk, go to the park. These things help to encourage not only building relationships, but also you helping to build the foundations of having a healthy lifestyle as a family unit as well.
Yeah. Or, at the barbecue, the family barbecue, after you eat and all that good food, then everybody get up and dance for 2 hours.
There you go. There you go. Put that line together.
Get grandma, get auntie, get the line going. Everybody, Uncle Joe, everybody, get up. Let's do it. Right?
That's right.
All right. All right. So if health was a bank account, what's one daily deposit everyone should make?
For me, it sounds funny, but it's so underappreciated. And that's rest, sleep. I don't think people get enough sleep. People take sleep for granted. They look at it. Most people look at sleep and rest as I'm wasting, or not necessarily wasting time, but it's not productive time. Not recognizing that your body is a finely tuned machine, and if you don't, reset it, then now you're going to the next day already at a deficit, and most people don't recognize that. You need rest. And that's the only time your body uses to reset itself, to revitalize itself, refresh itself. All this happens at rest. And when you truncate that time period of rest, now you're expanding again, further damage, and it's all going to come back to bite you at some point in time in your existence.
Absolutely.
Get your rest, get your sleep.
Absolutely. I think I know the answer to this next question, but since I have it here, I'm going to ask you anyway. And it's about motivation. Is motivation overrated when it comes to good health?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Many times when I think that people, again, they take all these things for granted. It's not a big deal. But what motivates people, what motivates me, is I'm reaching a point. I'm 60 years old, and I'm at a point where I'm seeing a lot of my friends that are starting to fall off with chronic diseases, or even, i.e., death. I just had a friend that this past, a few months ago, about a couple months ago, one of my former classmates, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a real thing, and I tell you, I like living over being unalive, and so what can I do to extend my time here? Because it's a direct relationship, and that's something that motivates me. So I think I'm very motivated to do what I can do, because we take so much for granted. And so when you flip that script and say, well, the least I can do is this, that helps with your motivation.
Okay. Yeah, because a good friend of mine, someone that I had known for close to 50 years. I mean, we knew each other since we were like 10 years old. We grew up as teenagers running the streets of New York together. He retired. I called him 3 days later, and he died the next day.
Oh, my goodness.
Massive heart attack on the outside. He looked like he was strong. He's still working out. And yeah, he had a massive heart attack.
Wow.
And that for me was a wake-up call.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Another wake-up call for me is the minds, the corporate mindset, where we all are like cogs in a puzzle, and we just all are doing our bit, and if someone falls off, let's say if one of our colleagues or one of our coworkers were to pass out, or and they expire, they may have, like we said, a heart attack or a stroke, and they're no longer available, and that office seat is occupied or unoccupied. Within a few weeks, they already help wanted.
Yeah.
They gonna fill that spot back up again. That's the mindset. But for me, I'm thinking, they replace us. When you think about your family situation, you missed a whole lot more at home than you are at the job.
That is so true. That is so true. All right, Mark, let's go into our next segment. This is leadership, performance, and purpose. So we got to talk a little bit about leadership. And my first question is, why should leaders even care about wellness?
Well, because if you're a leader, obviously you are leading something, people, and you're leading an organization, and you're concerned about being competitive. One of the greatest competitive advantage is having a workforce that's available.
And that is so true. My previous guest on the last show, we just talked about exactly that. When you lead and you have a healthy base of employees,
that's right.
It's going to benefit that organization.
That's right.
So you want to keep everybody happy. You want to keep them well. You want to keep them stress-free as much as possible so that they will want to work, can work, will work, and the organization benefits from that. Thank you for that. Man, you hit that nail right on the head. Thank you. Oh, here's a question. How does poor health affect the decision-making process and performance? We already talked about that, but the decision-making process.
Well, your cognitive functions are potentiated by, obviously, the healthier you are, the clearer you're able to think. The whole analytical mindset that you have, depending on the types of jobs that you do, all that will be impacted if your health is compromised. And again, you can't have, be in these situations of these high pressure, high keg type of environments when you only slept 3 hours the night before, you're having headaches, you haven't been eating well because you're trying to keep up, you're trying to stay ahead, and you come home, you just throw any old thing down, you grab a sandwich or something, fast food or something along those lines. That breaks you down, and eventually that will impact your day job, as like you were saying before, as far as your performance. Many people talk about the 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock dip, where a lot of times people may eat a whole lot during the lunch hour, and then 3 o'clock they're ready to clock out. I'm struggling for the next few hours, but the healthier you are, the better shape you're in, the better you're able to deal with the rigors of your day.
Okay. I think during my research on you, I came across a phrase, sustainable success. Yes. How do you define that?
Basically, again, I define that as living a lifestyle that builds on performance and longevity. See, the name of the game is when you are in tip-top shape. When I say tip-top shape, now I'm not saying everybody's going to be a marathon runner or everybody's going to be a pro athlete, but I'm just saying when you are able to do many of the menial things where you're able to stay ahead, just exercise by walking and drinking water and getting your rest, and your endurance is improved. It's like a muscle. you work at it, it gets stronger, and that's the sustainability of all of this. Is that when you continue to work on this organism called you get stronger, you get more resistant, you get more resilient, and that's the sustainability aspect of it.
Okay. I remember at one yearly checkup, wasn't too many years ago, my doctor told me, he said, Calvin, your body is like a car that's been running 365,
Mhm.
24 hours a day for all these years.
Yeah,
Sometimes parts have to be replaced.
that's right.
Sometimes they have to be repaired.
That's right.
Sometimes you just need to start treating it like it's a machine that has
That's
been
right.
running for X amount of years,
That's right.
and treat it better. And I was
That's
like,
right.
doctor, that's a good analogy. You're right about that.
You need a tune-up.
Need a tune. Exactly. Slip me some oil.
That's right. That's right. And too often, people will forgo, and even with a car, if you don't regularly change your oil. I've seen it happen with friends. That's not a big deal. They just drive that car to death. Eventually, what happens? They get a cracked block, and that's always an indictment. Well, what, you got a cracked block? Have you been changing the oil in this car? Well,
I didn't think I had to. It was still running.
One of the most critical and expensive repairs that's preventable.
Indeed. Well, Mark, I want to thank you for your expertise on these subjects. I still want to talk to you about your book,
Yes.
But we're going to take a little break right now. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. This is Born to Speak to You TV. I'm Calvin Gibbs. This is Born to Speak to You TV. And here is the segment we like to call Born to Rise. I often get asked, how do I get motivated? What motivates me? Well, I want to let you know that your biggest source of motivation are your own thoughts. So think big. The bigger you think, the more you can motivate yourself, not only to win, but to help somebody else, to make your dreams turn into goals, turn into success. So the biggest source of motivation is right up here. Your own thoughts. Own them, embrace them, love them because they're yours, and motivate yourself.
From the streets of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark.
We're back. This is Born to Speak to You TV. This episode has been a great conversation, the mind, body, and heart connection with my guest, Mark Brezzell. Mark, this last segment is called Speaking Life.
Mm-hmm.
And during it, we're going to play a little game. But first, I have a few more questions for you. And one question is, what's one lesson? We know that you're type 1 diabetic for over 30 years or so. What's one lesson diabetes has taught you about living?
That many things you can take for granted until they're taken away from you. For me, my body operated, functionally. Even before I became a diabetic, I ate a couple of times a midnight snacks. There were times where I vegged maybe on a milkshake and some fries. Little things. But when you become a diabetic, and now you have to be more analytical on how you approach your lifestyle, how you approach your diet. And not only you have that, but you have to be aware of the ramifications of your lifestyle. So it's almost like a re-education in a sense, because there's so many different tributaries from just having this condition in and of itself.
All right. I mentioned in the last segment that I'm going to ask you some questions about your book. Tell us a little bit about your book, A Matter of the Heart.
My book was more I didn't want it to be a long book. I wanted it to be kind of a starter, a conversation starter, because so often in our demographic, we don't talk about certain things. We push it to the side. It's not, it's not something. Sometimes it's like, well, it's like it'll go away if I don't talk about it. The boogeyman in the room. But I wanted to have a book that was small enough to really kind of get people thinking, put a thought in the back of their minds. How am I living my life? And what is this diabetes thing all about? Because there's so much misinformation on social media regarding what is diabetes and who is at risk. And so I wanted to share my personal experience to let them know that, first of all, it can happen to anybody. Doesn't matter your zip code, doesn't matter your color, doesn't matter, it doesn't matter anything, your education, it doesn't matter. But yet your diet and all these little things can impact, even if you do become a diabetic. How you live your lifestyle can determine whether you are able to reduce the number of long-term complications from this condition, and just kind of educating people. And also, I just want people to know that, hey, I was a highly stressed, clinician that had to deal with this condition. And so, so I when I talk of stress, I have a little bit idea of what I'm talking about, and because I dealt with that, I lived with it. So, and the last thing, I wanted people to understand the psychological impact of diabetes. They don't recognize that when you have a condition that requires that level of maintenance on a daily basis, and where you can make a mistake and your life could be in jeopardy, that puts a great amount of stress and strain on your individual. So a lot of times we misunderstand, or we don't understand the trek that a diabetic is going through, because we just thinking, oh, that's just something he's controlling his sugar, but they don't understand that the psychological ramifications of this as well.
All right. Tell us a little bit about what you hope the legacy your work leaves behind.
For me, I think it's more understanding that you are what you eat, and that each one, it takes one to reach one, and that we are responsible for each other. So many times I've seen where people take so many things for granted, and then when I'm talking about a condition like cardiovascular disease, that lifestyle is such a big propagator of. I feel we have to do better. We are the leading causes in so many different negative categories when it comes to our health: hypertension, cardiovascular disease, all these things. And if we change our lifestyle, change that, we can have a dramatic paradigm shift in reversing these numbers. But a lot of it is environmental, some of it's social. I mean, there's so many different factors. But even with that, being aware of something is the best way to begin to, start to propagate and turn that thing around. The more we talk about it, the more we're aware of it, the more we're able to put together strategies to kind of reverse that trend.
All right. Mark, would you like to play a game with me?
It depends.
It depends. Okay. Well, this one is called 30 Seconds to Speak Life. This is our lightning round. I want you to finish the sentence as short as you can. Every morning, I choose to.
I choose life.
Good health begins with.
Good health begins with an understanding of what I need to do best for my body.
Okay. The greatest investment you'll ever make is.
My personal wellness.
Like that. I feel most alive when.
When I've accomplished a goal.
Success without health is.
Empty.
Love that. That's powerful right there. The best advice I ever received was.
That your health is your greatest asset.
Okay. Okay. Now let's play a different game. This one is called One Word Reflections. One Word Reflections. I'm going to say one word and you answer the first thing pops in your mind, one word. Ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Wellness,
Health.
discipline,
Focus.
art,
Your will.
stress,
Your enemy.
resilience,
Resistance.
gratitude,
Being thankful.
purpose,
A mission.
family.
Your legacy.
All right. Love that. Love that. Our last game is called This or That. Ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Coffee or tea?
T.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Walking or cycling?
Cycling.
Books or podcasts?
Podcast.
Mountains or beach?
Mountains.
Cooking at home or dining out?
Cooking at home.
Meditation or music?
Meditation.
All right, here we go. Last one. Sweet or savory?
Savory.
All right. All right. I love the way you said I love the way you put the emphasis on that savory. I love the savory. So, Mark,
savory, yeah, that equates kind of it's a combination. It's more of a multifaceted type of a palette.
okay. So, Mark, what final message would you like to leave with our viewers?
I just want you to recognize that our health, it truly is our foundation. As I said before, we're living in a society now where we're under a great deal of stress. There's so much things that are going on right around us. But one thing we can do is we can make ourselves a little bit more resilient by how we live our life, and by the greatest negator in any I call it hater is being successful, moving the needle, having an impact in your community, having an impact in your family. And family is where it begins, and then it kind of spreads out from there. So I want to be around to be an impact for my children, and the best way for me to do that is to take good care of myself.
All right. Oh, I forgot to ask you, Mark, where can your book be purchased?
It's on Amazon. It's also online on Barnes & Noble. If you have any other questions, you can go to my website, mdbliveconnex.com, and there's multiple links there where you can actually purchase a book through the website. But the easiest way to do it is just right at Amazon.
Okay, and you can also reach Mark. The information is on the screen right now at the bottom, mdbliveconnex.com.
Yes.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for being our guest today. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Don't be a stranger, and
Yes,
and I'll see you real soon.
Thank you.
This is Born. This was a fantastic conversation with my guest, Mark Brezzell. I want to thank him for not only sharing his professional expertise, but also his personal journey, his passion for helping people live healthier, longer, uh, more purposeful lives is inspiring. And we're grateful that you chose Mark to speak life into the moments that matter with us today. Now, for our viewers, remember that lasting change doesn't just happen overnight. It begins with one decision, one healthy habit, one step in the right direction. Whether that's getting more rest, managing stress, becoming more active, or simply checking in on your own health, today's a great day to start. So if you have enjoyed today's conversation, please like this video, subscribe to Born to Speak to You YouTube channel, and share this episode with someone that needs to hear it. You can scan the QR code on your screen, and it will take you to our YouTube channel where you can find not only this episode, but past and future episodes of Born to Speak to You TV. And while you're there, please subscribe. Please subscribe. And your support helps us continue to bring these conversations that educate, enlighten, and inspire. We also invite you to join the conversation. If you have a story, a message, or some expertise that can help others grow, we'd love to hear from you. So contact us at Born to Speak to You, the twos are the number 2, at gmail.com. And you can also learn how to be a guest by contacting us on our YouTube page. A special thank you to DFN Broadcast Studios for giving us this platform to have these type of conversations and bring them to people all over the world. Well, that's about all, y'all, for this episode of Born to Speak to You TV. I'm your host, Calvin Gibbs, and as I always say, it's always imparting that we take 2 steps to the rear and get on out of here. Until the next time, remember, your voice has power. Your story has purpose. So keep speaking life into the moments that exit stage left.
Of Brooklyn, where stories grow wild, to the glow of the stage where the dream meets the child. A quiet flame, a hidden spark, drawn to the words that lit up the dark. Curtains rose and so did he, finding power in poetry. One voice, one mic, one sacred truth. Every word he spoke uncaged the youth. He saw the world try to silence the bold, but his soul was wired to break the mold. Now he walks in purpose, pure and true. He was born to speak to you. He's got that rhythm in his truth, that fire in his flow. Speaking life into the moment, watch it grow. Every